Donald Trump is allegedly asking Congress to propose legislation that would allocate $10 billion toward building a wall on our border to prevent Mexican undocumented immigrants from coming into the country. Now, this is a big story, especially considering the fact that when he was campaigning, one of his big promises was not only that he would build this wall, but that Mexico would pay for it. If you don't remember that, if somehow you forgot, let me give you some proof.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
I will build the wall. We're going to build a wall.
We will build a great wall.
We're going to build a great wall. And we're going to have a door in the wall.
We're going to build a wall. I would build a great wall. We're going to build the wall. We have no choice. We have no choice.
We're going to build that wall.
Nobody builds walls better than me, believe me.
We're going to build the wall.
We are going to build the wall.
We're going to build a wall.
I will build a great wall.
The wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me.
The wall just got 10 feet higher.
Got 10 feet taller.
How easy is that? It's going to happen, okay?
That wall will go up.
It's going to happen.
It's going to go up.
Impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall. These people come up to me, they say, Donald, you don't really mean we're going to build a wall, do you? And I say, absolutely we're going to build a wall, 100%.
It's going to be a real wall. There's going to be a real wall.
It's going to be a real wall. It will be a real wall.
It's going to be a real wall.
A real wall. And Mexico will pay for the wall.
Remember. Mexico is going to pay for it, and they'll be happy to pay for it. The wall is going to be paid for by Mexico.
They don't know it yet, but they're going to pay for the wall.
We're going to make them pay for that wall.
But they're going to pay for the wall.
Trust me, Mexico will pay for it.
And I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
100%.
100%. 100%.
Who is going to pay for the wall? Who? Who's going to pay for the wall? Who?
Build that wall.
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 So he estimates,
But is he going to build that wall?
I don't know, is he?
I just didn't.
Well, he says he wants to build a wall, but he reneges on a lot of his promises. Already, he has.
The best is how, just really quickly, he's like, it's going to go up, I promise. It's going to go up. I'm just under a lot of stress right now. That's what it sounded like. Oh, it's going to be huge. It's going to be beautiful. Just give me a minute to, erect my wall. That's what it sounds like to me.
Oh, my God. Okay. Okay,
It's never
so
happened to me before.
Let me give you some more details. Now, the exact amount of money that he is asking Congress to allocate for the wall is unclear at the moment. He believes that the wall will cost about $8 billion, but analysts have estimated that it's closer to $10 billion. So $10 billion is a lot of money, and Congress approves this, and it would be part of a spending bill. Well, that's taxpayer money that will go toward a wall that would prevent a non-issue in the country. And why do I say that? Pew Research has looked into this issue, specifically Mexicans coming into the country illegally. And what they found was that there are more undocumented Mexican immigrants leaving the United States right now than coming in. So it's at a net zero or below, because there are less people coming in, more people coming out. So think about that, $10 billion of American taxpayer money going toward building a wall that is essentially a non-issue right now. So keep that in mind. I think that's important to keep in mind as we continue on with this story. Now, Donald Trump is saying, oh, the media, they're all liars, okay? Because here's what's going to happen. Mexico's going to reimburse us for the wall. That's what's going to happen. So let's go to graphic 4. Here's his exact tweet on this issue. The dishonest media does not report that any money spent on building the Great Wall, for sake of speed, will be paid back by Mexico later. Okay. So let's go to what Representative Chris Collins from New York says. He says, on the trade negotiation side, I don't think that it's difficult for Donald Trump to convince Mexico that it's in their best interest to reimburse us for building the wall. Now, let's get into some actual numbers. So total U.S. foreign aid to Mexico is less than $200 million a year. So in 2014, it was $186 million. So redirecting all of that money to a border wall would only put a very, very tiny dent in an $8 billion bill, assuming that the bill is only for $8 billion instead of $10 billion. The biggest potential source of money for the wall could come from so-called remittance seizure. So remittance payments are money that immigrants, whether they're legal immigrants or illegal immigrants, earn in their country of residence and then send back to their families in their native country. So essentially what Donald Trump wants to do is seize that money, which, by the way, you just can't do. I mean, Donald Trump seems to break laws and get away with it anyway, or threaten to break laws, and the American public seems complacent and completely fine with it. I mean, his conflict of interest issues don't seem to bother a lot of his supporters. But nonetheless, Mexico received about $24.8 billion in 2015 in the form of these remittance payments. And so the idea is seize that money and use that to build the wall. So legal immigrants working in the United States, legal and illegal, immigrants working in the United States make money, and as they send that money back to Mexico, the U.S. seizes that money to build a wall for a non-issue in the United States at the moment.
That kind of, that incentivizes you to hire illegal workers so that we can finance a wall, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if I want to build a wall, that kind of says, all right, come in here, illegal immigrants, and try to send your money back home so I can steal the wages, the portion of that you're sending back home.
Yeah. Who's going to build the wall? Who's going to build the wall? Who is going to build the wall?
This is nonsense.
Donald Trump. I think it would be here's why I think it's hilarious. Like, Mexico, let's say that in this dynamic, Donald Trump is kind of the contractor being hired by Mexico to pay the wall, to build the wall. Now, how ironic would it be if Donald Trump, as the contractor, was the one not paid for his work? Like all the other contractors he hired to build things like his, country clubs and his palatial mansions, buildings, and then he told them, no, you're not going to get your money.
It's a confederacy of dunces, when I watch this shit in front of me. The other thing that really bothers me is that immigration now has just become exclusive to Mexicans. It's a Mexican thing. It's like terrorism is a Muslim thing, and the only people that are coming here illegally are Mexicans.
Yeah.
And it's so disheartening.
Well, we don't have a Mexican problem. We have an ignorance problem,
Absolutely.
right? And so this is par for the course, okay? So people are poor or they're frustrated at their economic situation. And so instead of being angry at the same person who is going to use his position as president of the United States to benefit in all of his businesses throughout the world, instead of getting mad at that man who's doing it for his own financial reasons so he can continue to, make money, you're getting mad at literally the most powerless people in this country right now, right? You think you're dealing with the economic struggle because of Mexicans?
No.
You think that's the real problem? And that's the part of it that frustrates me. Of course, Donald Trump is a disaster, right? But I think what the biggest disaster is the people who allow themselves to be fooled into attacking the powerless and electing the same people that take advantage of them time and time again.
You guys put it on the Young Turks Instagram. There's a video from some coal miners, and the coal miner is saying, "Ain't no illegal immigrant ever took my job." It's on the Young Turks Instagram, and
it's also on the politics page. It was an interview with a former, I think he was a coal miner. Yeah. And he's not a fan of liberal media, but he was talking about how, look, the problem is not immigrants taking our jobs, right? Coal jobs some coal jobs are not coming back. Some manufacturing jobs are not coming back. And so all of our election discussion had to do with a lot of these manufacturing jobs, right? And so Americans deserve better than that. They deserve quality attainable education so they can strive for better jobs with better stability. But we're fighting for scraps. That's what we're doing in the United States right now. We're fighting for scraps, and we're getting distracted by nonsense, while this guy is going to not only rob us, but rob the American political system of whatever democracy is left.
It's the later thing, too, that freaks me out. It's like, I get a lot of bills. None of them say, like, remit this later.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them have a date on them. So I think what Trump needs to do is, if he believes that his protectionist trade policies might work, do that first. And if you need to build something, like, to what you said at the beginning in terms of the inflow, outflow of immigration, it seems like the wall is useless. Now, there's a lot of folks you're going to put to work by building this wall. Great, awesome, fantastic. But no one's really, by definition of Anna's stats, going to use it for anything. It's not going to do anything.
By the way,
at the very least, if you're going to do a major, expenditure on something, put it into roads, put it into the airports you want us to have shinier versions of.
Put it in the schools.
Yes.
Yeah, but at the very least, like those infrastructure developments that are, he said a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it just takes folks saying like, okay, this is a good thing to touch and this is a bad thing to touch.
He said those infrastructure things. I think I've heard it once, maybe twice. The reason why that damn clip was 2.5 minutes is because he said that every day on the campaign trail to all these idiots. And if you're tired of hearing it, listen 5 more times and maybe you'll finally pay attention, because we heard it so many times, it was just a normalcy. We're like, oh, cool, yeah, it's just him being a clown. But you know what? Benghazi, 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 and we weren't tired of hearing that. But so until you get tired of hearing that and actually are willing to maybe have done something different about it, be prepared to keep hearing this bullshit for the next minimum 4 years and then see how you like it then. Because we get pitted against each other, as Anna pointed out, and then afterwards you think it's a normalcy. And behind the scenes, by the way, right in front of you, he's stealing from you. He's robbing you blind.
Absolutely.
But we're too busy getting upset about hearing his voice too many times. Pay attention to what he's saying and see now that when he said, I'm not really going to do that, this is the 4th or 5th thing he said he's not really going to do that he promised 18,000 times on a campaign trail. But we're okay with it. We're like, oh, well, yeah. He said lock her up.
It's so
Right?
yeah, you're right.
Putting her in jail. Like so many things that he
Went
can't
right
do.
away. They got mad for one day and said, oh, but it's okay. There was another thing where Trump supporters said, oh, you know what? He's too smart of a businessman to do all those stupid policies with healthcare because let's just give him that benefit of the doubt. It had nothing to do with all the things he actually said. Let's just give it to him that he's smart enough to not do the stupid things he said.
But he knows how to rile up. He's a master of it. This is all mass hysteria. It's constantly. It's after you tell the American people that Mexicans are rapists and killers, now you're just, I'm going to keep them out. But you're preying on people who don't have the benefit of a post-secondary education, that are out there working their asses off and trying to survive. And they're desperate and they don't know what's going on. And they think that he's feeding them proper information. But the other day I was talking to this guy who was a Trump supporter, and he was like, you see, he's bringing Apple back. Like, I was like, he's bringing Apple back. He's bringing all the Apple jobs back. And I was like, you're preying on, it's what you said, it's divide and conquer.
I just feel like it's really time for certain right-wing conservatives in the country to pick themselves up by the bootstraps and take personal responsibility for their economic issues, right? Stop blaming Mexicans. Stop blaming anyone, right? I mean, that's the argument that they make all the time when it comes to the poorest people in the country who need governmental programs just so they can feed their kids, right? And then they'll turn around and they'll blame the most powerless individuals for their own economic issues. Take personal responsibility. Or actually, better yet, okay, learn something. Don't believe everything that Donald Trump tells you. Do your own research. You don't like us, you don't believe us, that's fine. I totally accept that. Do your own research, be an advocate for yourself, and understand that it's the system that's in place right now, people like Donald Trump and the cabinet of deplorables that he's working with, that continuously rob you blind.
You know who's going to stop Trump, stop the establishment, stop the corruption? You are. You help us hire new investigative reporters, and we will unleash it on them. tytnetwork.com/go. Let's build the best journalism team in America.